Thank you for that. Well, the government has released a new report on the country's economic growth, and it's much slower than previously predicted. The U.S. Commerce Department says that the economy grew a meager 1% this spring, and that's down from their previous estimate of 1.3%. That means the economy only expanded 0.7% in the first 6 months of the year. Now, many financial analysts concerned that those new numbers could rattle the stock market. And it is time for this morning's UHERO segment. And joining us this morning is Dr. Carl Bonham, Executive Director of the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
So the GDP numbers come out. What are they saying? And what's the concern? Should we be concerned about those numbers?
Well, some of it was anticipated because we already knew that exports were much weaker than were originally estimated. And so this is the second estimate for the second quarter. And as you said, it's down from 1.3% growth to 1% growth. Most of the downward revision was because of exports. And we also saw an increase in inventories, which means that businesses are building things, but nobody's buying them, so they're putting them in inventories. That doesn't get counted in the numbers, so that was a drag on the economy. And then the other thing that's kind of important to note is that about 0.2, 0.3% of that 1% growth is actually a negative component coming out of government spending being cut, mostly state and local government, but also federal non-defense.
And also another interesting thing that happened today was the Federal Reserve Chairman, Ben Bernanke, spoke. What was the most important thing that came out of that?
So you can kind of think of three different things that he said that were everybody was waiting for and anticipating. And one was that the Fed actually thinks the economy is going to grow a little bit faster in the second half of the year. Two, they're ready to act. The Fed actually expanded their meeting that's coming up in September to a 2-day meeting so they can discuss additional monetary policy if it's necessary. That was very much anticipated and as being watched. But the thing that was kind of surprising was that the chairman spoke very strongly about the need for near-term, short-term fiscal stimulus instead of the cutting that I just referred to, the cutting of spending that showed up in the GDP numbers. So instead of cutting federal spending right now, we should be adding spending in order to boost the economy.
And is that surprising because Bernanke was appointed under Bush?
Well, it's surprising for that reason, but it's also surprising just in the sense that the Federal Reserve is in charge of monetary policy. It was just a very strong statement about the need to get the economy growing in the short term. Usually the Fed doesn't address fiscal policy quite that strongly.
When we talk about the economy, we turn to Dr. Carl Bonham. Thanks for joining us here this morning for the Insight.
You're welcome.
And don't forget, you could see this interview again by heading over to the morning section of KITV.com/this morning. The time now is 6:40. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Tia Carrera is also in our studio.